Hello, friends, and welcome to the Friendly Show. I am your friend. No, well, I am your friend, but I'm your host first, and then your friend, Leigh. Oh my gosh, it cracks me up every time. And I've been doing this 93 times already. So, welcome to episode 93. This month, we are talking about the discipline of happy. And this week, we are going to be talking about the happy pillar purpose. And it's going to be a really good conversation. If you're watching live, let us know. If you're watching in the replay, also let us know, because I would love to see what time people are watching in the replay, and who knows, in the future we may change the time of the live show. But if you do comment and you're watching live, whether you're on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, or Twitch, then you will become a part of the show. Your comments, I'll pull them up, and your comments will become a part of the show, which is really fun. So at the beginning of the each episode, I give you some notes that I've made, sometimes some studies, some tangible tips to take home with you, and to start living into your life. And so we're going to start there. I do want to start with a quick disclaimer that I am not a healthcare professional. So anything that you hear on this show, whether it's from me or maybe in the comments from somebody else, just realize that we are doing this for entertainment purposes and education. So if you hear something that sounds like, oh man, that really sounds like me, or wow, I wonder if I should be doing that thing that they just talked about, then please take that to a healthcare professional and see with them, work it out with them, and see if it makes sense for you and your situation. So, purpose and happiness. Here are some of the notes that I kind of made while I was thinking about, I was going through how can we be more disciplined in our purpose? And I was laying everything out. And then I thought, I think we really first need to talk about what is purpose, because it feels like the more scattered everybody is becoming, the more sad people are becoming. And the more difficulties that we're having, people are reaching out there for their purpose, just like they reach out there for their happiness. And a lot of people are saying, I have to find myself. I've lost myself. I need to find my purpose, my one big thing. And so I thought what we would do today is just quickly go through, what does purpose mean? And we can go through a million different definitions, but why don't we create a definition that serves us for our happiness, for sustainability, for a more satisfying life. Okay. So some of the things, when you're talking about purpose, a lot of people are thinking that like it's this one thing that you've got to find, and it's got to be perfect, and it's really got to be that big thing that I am meant for. What was I put on this earth for? And when we do that, there's a couple things that happen that make it very difficult for us to live in a happy state while we're trying to achieve that purpose. One is that we're always searching out there, right? Even if you find your purpose and you think it's something out there, this big mission that you have to live into, you're constantly grabbing, you're constantly looking, you're constantly thinking that it's something different than who you are. And the other thing that it does is that if it is one thing that you've got to be, when you change, when you grow, when your life circumstances change, that one purpose may not fit. And that is going to become a problem for you in the years, the months, even the weeks ahead of you, when you're like, oh man, I'm not living into my purpose anymore. And so maybe while you were having a family, your purpose was to provide for your family, or maybe it was for you to nurture your family. But then you become an empty nester, and now all of a sudden your purpose is gone, right? And that's why a lot of people get into midlife, later in life, and they're lost because they thought it was this one big thing. And now they have lost their identity because they attached it to this one big thing. And really, one of the definitions that I've created that I've really thought, and there are also studies around this that make this a very good kind of definition of purpose. And I'm going to read it to you because I wrote it out. And then what I want to do is I want to go through each piece of it and like go through it with you to see if you resonate with this being a purpose statement that you want to live by. Okay. Now it has to be something that means something to you. Okay. So if this doesn't resonate with you, that's totally fine. Think about what your purpose is. But this is the definition that I think is a more sustainable, satisfying definition of purpose. And it is purpose is the ongoing practice. Okay. So it's not one big thing, it's the ongoing practice of aligning your energy, your values, and your actions towards something that gives your life meaning. Okay. And doing this in a way that feels peaceful, that feels connected, and that feels self respecting. Okay. So I'm going to go through this and kind of break it down for you so then we can be talking about it. Because to be disciplined in our purpose, but we don't truly know what our purpose is, it's we're going to be running around like a chicken with our head cut off and kind of like always feeling lost, always feeling like we have to be something different. And so this definition of purpose really is not about what you do, but it's about why you do it. And it shapes the quality of our inner life and our relationships. And when we're talking about anything, when we're talking about our happiness, when we're talking about our purpose, when we're talking about our relationships, even, we need to be looking at that inner life, what's happening inside of us, because that is where our happiness resides. Okay, and that's why that last piece of the definition, and I'll get into that, but that's why the last piece where it says that it feels peaceful is really vital for a long lasting, lifelong definition of purpose and leading to sustainable, satisfying happiness throughout your life. So it's not fixed, right? It's ongoing. There was research from the Yale Center of Emotional Intelligence that actually showed that people who adapt their sense of purpose over time are more resilient and experience higher. Oh, no, it's good. We're good. Yeah, thank you so much. um, their sense of purpose over time are more resilient and experience higher well-being. So a lot of people, when we're looking at it being right here, this one thing, then as our life, like I said in the beginning, as our life changes, if we aren't able to adapt our sense of purpose, then it becomes very difficult for us to live a happy life. So this means that your purpose can evolve and should evolve, and that evolution really is part of your joy. So purpose really grows with you. The next thing is that it aligns with energy, not with our activities. So it's not about being busy. It's not about, okay, I found my purpose and now I'm going to find my calling. I'm going to find the job. I'm going to live my life doing all these things, volunteering, all of this. And you become busy around it because that is going to eat away at your peace, right? So it's about being an energetic match aligned to your values. So then you're living into that purpose, your purpose, not somebody else's, not somebody on Instagram, not even who you were 5 years ago, but your purpose right now. And so when your actions actually match those values, your values that you define, then your brain releases dopamine, it releases serotonin, and it actually regulates your mood and your satisfaction. That's why purpose is so important for your happiness and your joy. When we don't align our energy and our actions to our values, that's where you feel friction. That's where you feel anxiety. That's where you feel fatigue. You feel drained. You can be in the swamp of your life, but if you're aligned and your energy is aligned with your values, you'll be able to go to bed and wake up feeling rested because you know that you've been living aligned with your purpose. Okay. Even if on the outside you're not successful, even if you're not hitting things that you thought you should be, all of those shoulds, you will still feel aligned, peaceful, and purposeful because you are living according to your values. So happiness happens when our outer effort, what we're doing, feels like an honest expression of who we are and who our inner truth is. Okay. So the next thing is that it includes peace. We talked about this in the very beginning when we said that it's part of the design. We want to design peace into everything we do because that is where we're going to gain more energy. If we are not feeling peaceful internally, okay, then we're going to have a really hard time being aligned. We're going to have a really hard time showing up for all of the rest of the framework. We're going to have a really hard time showing up to be kind to ourselves, affection for ourselves. We have a hard time showing up for people in our life. We're going to have a hard time being youthful if we don't feel peaceful. And so that being a part of that definition is super important. So for me, when I have a purpose statement, my purpose statement, and I've been working through it because I want to have something that's really like concrete that I can adjust, but it's something that I want to live by. And mine is my purpose is to live in alignment and live in alignment and peace while allowing others to do the same. Okay. And what that allowing others to do the same is that you kind of let other people live their journey, right? You want them to be as peaceful and joyful as you. And that's not by controlling, that's by you being able to allow them their journey, whatever that looks like. Even if it doesn't align with your values, it doesn't matter. If it aligns with their values, that's all that matters, right? So that is one of the healthiest, most emotionally intelligent purpose statements that we can create when it is something that we're able to move into no matter what the situation. Okay. And you want it to serve both others and yourself without being a people pleaser. Okay. So when we're looking at serving other people, we're not looking at the detriment to ourselves. We're looking at contribution. We are looking at a shared purpose. We are looking at doing it out of a generous frame instead of martyrdom, people pleasing. Okay. So the happiest people experience a dual sense of meaning. Okay. Because you'll hear out there that people are like, oh no, your sense of purpose really should be to serve others. That should be our sense of purpose. We should always be serving others. And some people will say, well, you'll find a deeper why if you're really figuring out what you need. And the studies have shown that the happiest people experience a dual sense of meaning. Okay. They have personal purpose and they have shared purpose. So their personal purpose is I am living a life that feels true to me. Okay. But also in doing so, I make a life a little better for others around me. Okay. So that dual purpose, that's where you're going to find your actual joy, your actual happiness. It's going to be sustainable. You're going to be able to go to bed at night feeling good. And so again, this comes from a generous standpoint. It nourishes you rather than depletes you. Okay. That's the difference between people pleasing and being generous with your time, your energy, and your love. So when we're talking about discipline, we want to look at discipline as a sense of devotion, that we're doing the thing because we can do the thing, not out of duty. If it's out of duty because we have to do this, that we have to step into this purpose, it's not your purpose. If it feels tiring, it feels fatiguing, it feels unaligned, it means that it is probably somebody else's purpose. So check in. And that's okay if it is, because a lot of us have been told how to think, how to be, who to become, right? And right now, you have complete control over deciding who you are, forgetting a big part of you that has been programmed by other people. And the easiest way is to look where that piece is coming from, because your true purpose and you living into what you want is going to feel peaceful. It's not going to feel like duty. It's not going to feel like something you have to do. It's going to feel like something you get to do. And shout out to Will over at Happy School. He had a big conversation with me about that. And that's one of the things that I absolutely love is that, when you go and do anything, where you are, what you're doing, even if you decide that, oh man, I actually shouldn't have gone to this networking thing, or, oh, I actually didn't want to do this thing. When you're there, that's your life. Whether you think you should be there or not, you can decide to leave, but if you decide to stay, be in it and realize that you get to be there. You get to show up. You don't have to show up, and that changes everything for you. So, your purpose really is not about perfection, it's about presence. It's about being where you are. You guys know I'm a kitchen designer, and so I put together this little well designed life based on a floor plan and kind of design, right? Home design. So, your values you can think of as your foundation of the home, okay? Your daily habits that you're doing every day are the walls that give that shape. They give your value shape. And then your relationships and your contributions that you're giving to others, those are the windows that bring light in, okay? And then happiness is how you feel when you live there. So when everything's aligned and intentional, you feel at home. You feel at peace in yourself, in your work, and in your life. So there's a formula that I want you guys to consider when you're thinking about purpose. And I know we talk about purpose every month in every series, but I want you to think about this formula. Purpose equals peace plus progress plus presence. Okay. So peace, you're not betraying yourself for success. Okay. Whatever you're doing out of peace and alignment. And so you remember that, because if you're going to be reaching for success and you have to betray yourself, then it is not going to feel peaceful, and you're going to realize that you're out of alignment. And once you get to that successful point, whatever that is, whatever the number that looks like, whatever once you get there, I promise you, you will not be happy. Okay. The next is the progress. So your contribution is to something meaningful. And you're the only person that can tell what's meaningful to you, right? There's some people that they find meaning in different things. And when you tell them, oh, this is why I'm doing it, this is why it means something to me, it may not mean anything to you. And that's okay. You have different values, and that's what makes us all, different, and it brings everybody together, because if we all had the exact same values, we all were searching for the exact same thing, we were all living into the exact same thing, it'd be a very boring place. And then the last piece is the presence. Okay. You're awake and grateful for the process. You're not waiting for happiness to be out here. Once you hit that purpose, you're living that purpose every single day where you are. When all three of those coexist, happiness stops being fleeting. It becomes your baseline. It becomes who you are and what you do and why you do everything that you do. And you're the only person that can answer those questions. You're even in happy school, everything that we're talking about, it can either feel superficial and it can feel like you're just kind of going through the motions, but it's up to you to put in your value, to figure out your things, what brings you joy, and what contribution you can make in order for you to be living that purpose every day. So purpose, just to conclude, and then I'm going to go and see what you guys are saying. Just to conclude, maybe purpose isn't finding that one thing that you're meant to do. Maybe it's about becoming the kind of person who brings peace and meaning to whatever it is that you're doing. That's what makes purpose sustainable, and that's what makes happiness last. So, just in case you tune out right now, I want you to, if you've loved that piece of it and you're listening to this in the audio version, or you're listening to this on Facebook or LinkedIn or Twitch, I'd love for you to come on over to YouTube and subscribe to the channel. I really would. The more that we have subscribers in YouTube, the more people can hear these messages and become a part of the Friendly Show. And that would just mean the world to me, because this sharing these ideas, that is part of my purpose. It's part of my total being, is to share love and happiness with the world. So here's a 3-step process. Don't we all love a 3-step process? But I started putting it together and I was like, okay, how do we stay disciplined? Because that's what we're talking about with our purpose. And I put together some ideas. It turned out to be 3. That's nice and popular. but you can see if there's more steps that you think that there are, but really you want to clarify what your why is. Why are you doing the things that you're doing? And one of the best things for you to do is Sunday night before you start your new week, write one sentence that makes your purpose feel alive that week. Because when you're going into a new week, your situation, your season, your circumstance may have changed. And if you can rewrite your why statement, your purpose statement, based on what you know is going to be coming, and we all know it can change like a drop of a hat, but that will make you be re-energized and remind you of what that purpose was, right? And then what you want to do is you want to set micro commitments, just little habits, little things that you can be doing, that you can be stepping into. And it's not to become busy like we talked about before, but it's to be able to create these things that you're then able at the end of the night to celebrate. And I want you to then be able to celebrate the evidence, not the endpoints. I want you to be able to celebrate the little things that you have done to step into your purpose, turning your happiness into a habit. Okay, the brain, we've talked about this before, loves rewards. And so the more disciplined we become with living into our purpose, the happier we will become. And by virtue, we will also not make people, but we will be able to shine a light on other people where they will feel happier in your presence. So that is about it. I'm going to come on over and see if anybody is watching live, if anybody is here, and I'm going to throw you back up on the stage. Oh, look at this. Well, hello. Heyo. Hey, Andrew. Hey. Janice is here. Hi, Janice. Let me see if we can get you up there. The wonderful Pops is here. Good evening, pretty lady. Well, good. I was going to say good lady. I don't know. Good evening, sir. Mel says, hi, my beautiful friend. Oh, I'm so happy you're here, Mel. That's so awesome. Okay, so Andrew says he is definitely lacking in the discipline area. You know what? And it's totally fine. Here's the thing. We get to choose how we're going to show up every moment. So it doesn't matter what we've done in the past. It doesn't matter what a minute ago looks like. What do you want to do right now? And you can start building the discipline that you want, whether it's in purpose, whether it's in any of the pillars of the happy framework, right? But discipline, some people feel like it's like a cage. They feel like, oh, I'm a creative. You can't cage me in. You can't keep me in this like box. But really what it is it creates this space for you to be able to really dig into what matters to you. And I was one of those people. I was like, don't give me a routine. Don't make me do anything the same any day. But the older I'm getting, and the more that I'm diving into happiness and self-fulfillment and life satisfaction, I'm realizing discipline is one of the number one ways for us to be able to live the life that we truly want. So Pop says, if we all have the same purpose, there's no possibility of growth. There you go. Awesome. That was excellent. I know when you said that. Janice is here and she said, I don't know why I have such a hard time with this darn mouse sometimes. She said, oh, I subscribed today. Awesome. Thank you, Janice. I don't know, but that might mean that I'm going to be able to start doing lives for you guys over here. Not only these types of lives, but just like quick live videos throughout the day and the week. We'll see. Andrew says, so thank you, Janice. Andrew says, I think purpose is something you can look forward to regardless of being happy or depressed. Purpose gives you something to look forward to and gives meaning and possibly hope. And it can hold you accountable. I love that. That's beautiful. And when we're talking about happiness, Andrew, because I know that a lot of people, here's what's really interesting. Once you create an identity for yourself and people start knowing you for that identity, it becomes very easy to kind of feel like you have to live into this box of what that identity is. So as a happiness coach and the founder of the Happy School, People expect me to always be happy and not expect me that I'm never going to be sad, that I'm never going to have any other emotion other than happiness. But happiness to me is really an inner state of peace. And so when people are talking about happiness, and I know that there's going to be people in the comments that are going to start talking about the difference between happiness and joy, the difference between it being, an inner being versus a state of mind versus, for me, when I talk about happiness, I'm talking about being peaceful. And that's why this purpose definition really aligns with that, because I think it's the only way that we're really truly able to live a more simple life. And so to me, I feel like you can have depressed moments. You can feel very sad. You can be in a very sad situation. And yes, that's different than being clinically depressed. I understand that. But you can be a happy person that's experiencing a sad event or a sad situation or a sad season or a sad year. But you can, if you have that inner peace, to me, you can still identify as a happy person, if that makes sense. Also, that was probably like way more than you were expecting on that comment, Andrew. But that's what I love about these comments. And I love that you guys are here so we can have, different conversation. Pop says, I missed the sunglasses on the curtains. Yes, I know. So, we actually, my sister moved out of this room for a week. She had to go to a different facility. And when we came back, we forgot to do a couple of the things that we used to do. So next week, I will try to get the sunglasses back up on the curtain for you. That is so funny. Mel says, hey, my friend. Well, hello, hello. Okay. So we're going to do 3 questions. Okay. We do the lightning round at the end. We're going to do 3 questions because then we are going to wrap up, and we are running a little bit late because I was a little bit more winded on this because I think this is such an important topic. Purpose. I love all of the pillars. They're all super important, but purpose is something that people are just putting this label on, and they're putting way too much pressure on themselves. So I'm hoping that this episode really, really helped you. And if you know people struggling with purpose, please share this episode with them. Okay. So here are the 3 questions. Again, it's ChatGPT. Let me just get in there. Okay. So then I can answer them with you. So, and here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put these on here. I'm just going to take the top 3. I'm going to put them inside of here. That way, Britt does not have to write them out. Britt, thank you so much for always doing that for us. You're the best. So here are the 3. Also, let me do this where I can. Sorry, guys. So I can do them separately so you can see them. So the first one is, when do you feel most alive or at peace? And what's happening in those moments? Oh, that's a good question. Okay. I like that. Here's the next one. The next one is, I'm just trying to format it so you can see it a little bit better. The second one is, if you could bring more meaning into one part of your life, where would it be? I like that one too. Okay. ChatGPT for the win tonight. You got some good questions. And then number 3 is, who do you know that lives in alignment, and what do they teach you about happiness? I love that. Okay, so let's go to the first question. So the first question was, when do you feel most alive or at peace, and what's happening in those moments? And Mel says dancing. It's freedom. Oh, I love that. That's so good. Yes, I completely agree. And then I think there was another comment up here. Let me just make sure that I'm not missing something, guys. I thought so. There we go. So Janice says, so true. Identity can set up an expectation for yourself and for others who follow you. My identity is never solid. It is always flowing and changing. I love that, Janice. Yes, absolutely. And yeah, I've noticed that even with me, I've noticed that because I'm more in the public eye as a happiness expert, that people look at you differently. And that's one of the things that I'm really excited about, is to really teach people what happiness really is, but to also not get trapped in that identity and in that little box. So thank you, Janice. Okay. Oh, nice. Janice says, painting is my most alive moment. That's awesome, of course. And she is spectacular, guys. Janice, you got to share that in Happy School. I haven't seen your paintings in the last little bit. Andrew says kayaking or working out, but kayaking for sure. Being out on the water, it's so peaceful and relaxing. Oh, that sounds so awesome. Yes, that's incredible. And then Pop says, I feel most at peace when I have no expectations on my time. Very nice. Very nice. And here's one of the things with that too, is that expectation is so difficult because when we set higher expectations for ourselves, there is that friction, right? And so if we can lower our expectations, that really helps. And I think that's part of this purpose, is that if we can lower these expectations of what purpose actually is and what it feels like, and realizing that it's just really peace, it makes things a lot easier. Okay, so number 2 was, if you could bring more meaning into one part of your life, where would it be? Okay, so I'll answer that. Well, so for me, the most alive and at peace, I think is, oh, I don't know. I feel really at peace when I am, like, believe it or not, when I'm sharing this kind of stuff, when I'm teaching, when I'm coaching, when I'm doing that, I just feel super alive, like I'm super aligned. Um, and when I'm walking and when I'm with my family. So the 5 of us, me, my mom, my dad, my sister, Mike, I feel most alive and at peace when I'm with them. Now, number 2 is, if you could bring more meaning into one part of your life, where would it be? More meaning. For me, what I'm trying to work on, actually, I will tell you, is my health and putting more meaning into that. Because a lot of the time, my health has been to, like, lose weight. Like, to do all the things is just to lose weight. And that's not meaningful to me because I don't care about the number. But to have the meaning of, I'm doing this so that I can be more peaceful, so that I can be more present, so I can be here longer, that is making it a lot easier to do the things that I need to do to be healthy. Um, let us go here and see what you guys are saying. And Andrew says more meaning would be finding more of my legitimate purpose. Okay, and how did you feel about that purpose statement, talking about that it's you living more aligned and peaceful and letting other people do the same? I'd be curious, because I think we just tend to put a lot more pressure on ourselves. Pop says providing and being productive. Okay, that's good. That's good. And Mel says my marriage, getting back to date nights. Oh, Britt, did you hear that? Janice says meaning, that might be my health, so that when things happen to me, as they do, that I can bounce back quickly. Awesome. Okay, and then number 3, thank you, Britt. 3, the question was, let me just grab this again. Who do you know that lives in alignment, and what do they teach you about happiness? And Britt says, Russ is very aligned. He doesn't let unnecessary things sway his life. I like that. Okay. Oh, that's so funny. And Mel said, Russ, my oldest, he's just so wise at 27 years old. That's awesome. Shout out to Russ. It's pretty cool that you guys both look at your kid that way. That's really neat. Andrew says, I think I need to take a step back and slow things down and really take perspective on what I personally want, and it'll help me figure out my purpose. Yes. How do you want to feel? That's one of the easiest things. And, like, think about the things that you do, and when you feel the most at peace, when you feel the most aligned, and then do more of that and bring more of that energy into all the things that you're doing. When you're working, when you're driving, when you're with friends, when you're walking, if you can bring that feeling, that's what your purpose is to bring that aligned feeling into all of the situations that you're in, because we feed off of each other. We feed off of each other's energy. Janice says, Number 3. Me, I am always showing myself how I can improve on my happiness, which affects all around me. That's awesome. Okay, good. I love that she picked herself. That's pretty cool. And I would say, you know what? I would say my dad. My dad's pretty aligned. Like he really like just knows who he is, knows what he's got to do, knows what he wants, and he just lives in it. Like my mom and me are constantly saying, "Did you just finish that? Are you already back from that? Did you already do that?" Because he doesn't put a lot of thought and noise around the things he does. He shows up for his family. When he was working, he showed up for work. I feel like his purpose is to show up as his best self everywhere he goes. He shows up the best when he's on the golf course, he's on the golf course. When he's with his family, he's with his family. When he's at work, he's at work. When he's shopping, he's shopping. Like he lives in the moment. And that's what it teaches me is that when you can live in the moment, um, you get things done a lot more efficiently for one, and two, you really live a happier life. He seems very happy and peaceful in all of the things that he's done. So I think that is it, you guys. I think we're going to kind of just end there. Come on back next week. Okay. Again, I never asked this, but I'm going to start. If you sparked anything in this conversation, I highly encourage you to subscribe or whatever you're supposed to do. Also hit the bell. If you're on YouTube, hit the bell, because then when I go live, because now I think I'm going to be able to go live more often, not as long. I'll still do those on Wednesday nights at 7:30 Eastern, but just quick ones. If you hit the bell, you subscribe and hit that, you'll be able to get notified anytime I go live. And share it with somebody, and share the happy school with somebody that you want in there with you. And I can't wait to see you next week or in happy school this week. And Pop says, have a great week. Thank you. I love you all. Big hugs to you all. Thank you for being here. I love that you guys are in conversation with me every single week. And I will see you next week when we are going to be talking about discipline and partnerships. It'll be a good one. Love you. Bye.